Hello, my name is Jen and welcome to the book Refuge. Right now I'm going to share with you my July wrap up. So yeah, I'm super excited about this. I'm filming it a couple days early, but I'm going to be going on a camping trip this weekend, and there's maybe one or two books that I'll be able to finish that I'm currently reading, and I'll share with you those as I get to them. Yeah, I read 11 books this month, 2 on audio, 9 in my hands anyway. Yeah, to start it, I think I'll go from the least liked to the best. That always seems good, keep you hanging on for what my favorites are. So yeah, let's start with, this was one of my TBR jar picks for the month. That was Hush Hush, and with it I have the first 3 in the series. I shared in my TBR for July that I had wanted to finish the series because when I was back in high school I read the first 2 and then I never finished it. So I have read these 3 and I'm currently reading Finale. I should finish that this weekend. That's one of the ones I plan to finish, but I've hardly read any of it. I feel really ramped up with these ones. That being said, all 3 of these were a 3.5, and that doesn't mean I hate them. I've been having a really fun time. They make me laugh a lot, actually. Sorry, how ferociously I loved these books back in high school, and I can see why, because they literally hit like all my favorite tropes from back then, like the mysterious stranger, the person slipping into your room at night, the undeniable passion between the two of you. But honestly, I mean, I am enjoying myself. I ripped through these 3 in a week. But yeah, I should tell you, just in case for some reason you don't know, these books have been around for about 10 years now, and they are about a fallen angel named Patch and a young girl in high school named Nora, and these 2 are drawn together by mysterious circumstances. Nora doesn't think she really likes Patch that much, besides this undeniable chemistry that they have for each other, and she slowly comes to realize that there's something special about him, and why does he keep showing up in all the places that she is, and what does she have to do with being involved in this, and why does it feel like she should stay away from him but she's so intrigued in him, you know, all those tropes. And that's why it gets a 3.5, is just because I know that as a teenager I would have given these 5 out of 5, but also it's a really repetitive story. You know, in each one of these they fight for the whole book, and then in the last 10 pages they're back together, and then there's a cliffhanger about why they're getting torn apart again. And literally that happened in all 3 of these, is that they're fighting against each other almost the whole time. Like, they just aren't on the same page, and so that got a little frustrating. As well as the parental units in this, Nora only having one, her mom. This is just, it's a classic problem in young adults, because when you have parents around, you have to find a way to get rid of them, because otherwise the teens can't do what they really want to do. So, but I gave them all 3.5 so far, and that's not a bad thing. Like, I said in my vlog, like, I was planning to give it less than this and I didn't. So then the other 3.5 that I had is Thief of Happy Endings by Kristen Chandler. This is about a girl named Cassidy, who she is afraid of horses because when she was young she got bucked off and she got hurt. And I set that premise up because her grandfather owns a ranch, and when he has died and her parents are getting a divorce, Cassidy gets sent there for the summer to try to get over some of her anxiety and to get over her fear of horses, which seems kind of silly because she lives in the city, so why does she have to ride horses? But anyway, she gets sent to this camp that is held at her grandfather's ranch, run by her grandfather's friend, and there they tame wild mustangs so that they can be sold and given to a good home instead of rounded up and basically killed by the local authorities. There's this like war happening between like the ranchers and the mustangs and the authorities and the mustangs and the ranch owner, and it's just a lot of like, that's really what the thing for me is, that it was very unclear what the purpose was, and then Cassidy had anxiety, and then all of a sudden it was just gone, and they didn't really explain why, but it was really interesting. And I love any books with horses, and there were some good interactions with horses. Also, the love interest didn't make any sense to me. Like, I didn't feel their chemistry, and then all of a sudden they were just together, and they were like risking really like life-changing things for each other, and I just didn't buy it. But I had a great time. It was a beautiful landscape. It was a cool idea. I liked some of the other troubled kids who all had their different reasons why they were there, and I thought that was cool. But I just didn't buy a lot of what it was doing, but it was cool. Next up, I have two 4-star reads. The first one is Starry Eyes by Jenn Bennett, which I just put up a review for. I'll link in the card above. This is about Zori and her ex-best friend turned enemy, Lennon. They end up on a camping trip with a group of friends, but then they end up alone on that camping trip, and they have a lot of issues to hash out together about why they aren't friends anymore and what got in their way, and are they going to try to fix their relationship or just try to survive the camping trip and then go back to their regularly scheduled programming. I really enjoyed this book. In my review, I said I gave it 4.5. I gave it a 4. It was really good. It was what I wanted at the time. It was refreshing. It's not linked to some crazy long series, which sometimes I like to just read a good old plain one. It's really nice, but it was fun. It had camping and adventure. It had these really cool like illustrations about like these cool like maps spread throughout it, like a map of her town. Let's find another one. There's one other cool one. A map of like the camping site they go to. There was just really cool art, and I really enjoyed it. So I definitely suggest this one as a fun summer read. I read it all in one night, and it was definitely worth my time. Next up, I have The Mammoth Hunters by Jean M. Owl. I never really looked up how to say her name. Sorry. This is kind of a funny story. This is the third book in the series, Earth's Children. This month, you'll know in a last book haul, I showed The Clan of the Cave Bear, which I found a first edition at this side store. So then I have been slowly collecting the first editions of all of the books so that I have the whole series. The first book in the series, I kind of glanced through because I know this is bad, but I don't care. I'll read how I want. I knew what the content of the first book was, and it had to do with the main character, Ayla, having to deal with prejudices and being treated really badly. And I really didn't want to read that for a whole book, because these books are big and they're very detailed, and they go into a lot of detail, and they're really repetitive. And Ayla gets pretty abused in that book, and I just didn't want to sit through it. So, I then had like ordered all of them, and I didn't realize this was the third one when I ordered this one first, and I didn't want to wait, so I started reading with this one first. I'm going back to read the second one, but anyway, I gave this 4 stars. It's very interesting, very detailed. It's set in caveman times, and this girl Ayla and her traveling companion John Delar are falling in love with each other, and they're trying to get back to John Delar's family, and they run into this group called the Mammoth Hunters, and the Mammoth Hunters really like them and are really fascinated by Ayla and John Delar and want them to join their group, and so they spend a winter with these people, and so you learn a little bit about them, and Ayla meets some more people like her. And so yeah, it was just really interesting. It was the first time I read a full book of hers, and it's a lot, and it was enjoyable. The reason I gave it a 4 and not a 5 is that there will be pages and pages and pages of descriptions, and at times I found myself like skipping through pages. I said this in my in one of my vlogs. This book is like 650 pages, and I probably read 450 of it, because there's 150 pages of just explanation of like what a mammoth looks like, and in detail, and what it looks like when you kill it, and how you skin it, and how you blah blah. And like some people, that's what they're into with this, that's what they want. But for me, I was more interested in the inter-people communications and like how they were figuring that out, and I didn't get as much of that as I wanted. So that's why I gave this a 4. 4.5 stars, and that is Nevernight and God's Grave. God's Grave, I'm halfway through, but I'm going to finish it tonight or tomorrow, so I'm putting it in this wrap-up because I'm filming the wrap-up kind of early. These are book 1 and 2 in the Nevernight Chronicle. Yep, the Nevernight Chronicle by J. Kristoff. They are about Mia Covert, sorry, can't talk today. They're about Mia Covert, who trained to become a blade of Our Lady of Blessed Murder so that she can get revenge on some people who killed her parents when she was young. And so in the first book, she was going through all of the tests and trying to get herself proved as a blade, and just the people she meets in training, the different young people, as well as the professors, the teacher assassins for Our Lady of Blessed Murder. And it's called The Red Church, and it was fascinating. You can find much better detailed reviews of this than me because I really like these books. I gave them 4.5. I think they're great. They are very dark. They're very intense, and one of the reasons it's taken me this long to get through it is that I can only read little bits at a time because it gets pretty depressing, and sometimes I just want to hug Mia and make everything okay. But I really enjoy the characters, and it's also one of those books where like I'm dying to read parts of it from other people's point of view. But I'm glad it sticks with Mia, and it's not in her point of view. These books are being told to you by someone who you don't know who this someone is who's telling the story, but they stick with Mia for the whole time. And there's these cool like annotations, like there'll be stars and there'll be annotations in there from the person who's telling you the story. They'll pipe in with different things, and it's just a really interesting format. I love Jay's writing. Like, he's really blunt, he's so clever, and yeah, like somehow he makes me care about characters that I don't see a lot of them, but I like want to jump into their perspective more. So yeah, I really like these. 4.5 from me. I'm really glad I read them. I'm so sad that Dark Dawn got pushed back, even though I know it's for good reasons, but I want it. I want to know what's going to happen. To my 5 stars, this was one of my audiobooks. Again, last month, these are in my wrap up again because I read all these books and I listened to Illuminae last month, and this month I listened to Gemina. I'm listening to Obsidio right now. This is fabulous. It hasn't changed. It gets a 5-star. Not going to say any more about it, but definitely check out this series if you haven't yet. Starts with Illuminae and goes from there. Next, I can't believe I gave this a 5-star because I don't think I've given any of these books 5 stars, and I'm kind of regretting that. Like, I've always brushed off how much I love the Poldark novels because nobody else really knows who they are. Like, these books started coming out in the 40s, and they came out, I think the first one came out in maybe the 50s, and then like this one originally came out in 1982. Like, Winston Graham wrote these all through his life basically, and this was the 9th book in this series. I just love this family. Like, I have to know how everything's going to end. I'm in the middle of The Loving Cup. That is the 10th one in the series. I ordered the last 2. I listened to these ones on audio though, but I also own them just because, like, with this one, this was one of the first ones in a long time that I'm listening to the story. They're read by Oliver J. Hembrough, and he is so good. He read Fox, that new book that's coming out about the guy who turns to stone, and I literally wasn't interested in that story, but I saw that Oliver J. Hembrough read it, and I'm going to listen to it now because I adore him. He makes his voice do amazing things. When he sings, like in The Loving Cup right now, he sings in this woman's voice, and he sounds so good. It's amazing. So I absolutely love these books. I'm tired of like downplaying it, which not that I had to, but like I downplay it to myself. I'm like, oh, these are just my books I listen to in between other stuff. But like, I stopped listening to Obsidio. Like, I'm going to listen to it, but I stopped listening to Obsidio because I had to listen to this book. Wah! And I'm going to finish this series on audio probably before I listen to anything else because I want to know what happens to this family. This is one of my favorite fictional families, like maybe after the Weasleys. I love the Poldark family. So if you are into historical fiction, please check out the Poldark series. It starts with Ross Poldark, And then there's 12 books in the series, and it's effing fabulous. I love it. Like, there's always some kind of mystery, not like a death mystery, but there's always some kind of mystery happening. There are pieces that get to reveal to you bit by bit. There's so many different characters. It's read from like, it's like in third person omniscient, basically. And so it's like read, like it bounces around from people, but it's so good. So anyway, 5 out of 5 for me. I will do a wrap up when I finish the entire series, because it's going to have been like a 3-year thing for me. I've been slowly listening to these because I looked on my audio, and yeah, I bought the first one like 3 years ago, and I'm just slowly been listening to them, and I'm at the point now where it's crescendoed, because like, yeah, I used to read it in between other things, but now I don't want to read the other things. I want to read this until I'm done, and then I'll probably start over again because it's so good. So anyway, highly suggest this book series. And then finally, and I did this on purpose, I would give this a higher rating than a 5-star if I could. And that is Redeeming Love. This was my romance pick out of the TBR jar. You'll see in my video, I kind of laughed at it. It is a Christian historical romance, and I wasn't excited to read this book. My friends have told me about it. I found it at a thrift store for $1, so I felt the need to buy it because my friends all loved it, and I'm a Christian, so I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll buy it. But I have never been a huge fan of Christian romances I've read before, so I didn't want to read this. And wow, I need to do a video on this, but I'm scared because some of the things I have to say I don't think everyone would like. But this is the book Refuge, and that's what I say. But this story, Redeeming Love, is about a girl named Angel who is a prostitute in 1850 in Gold Rush, California. And she meets this man named Michael Hosea, who God has told him to marry her. Michael Hosea is a God-fearing man. He owns a farm. He came into town to sell some vegetables, and he sees Angel walking by, and he hears a voice in his head say, marry that girl. And he had been asking God for someone to marry for a while, so not knowing that Angel's a prostitute or knowing anything about her, he's like, okay. And so he goes to find her and realizes that he has to pay for time to see her. And so he trusts God, and he goes in to see her, and Angel thinks it's just another John, but it's Michael Hosea, and he has a different plan for her. He has a plan to bring her up out of prostitution and make her his respectable wife, and he has plans to love her and be a good husband. And it is based on the story in the Bible of, not based on it, because in this book they know, like Michael know, like the Bible exists, so Michael knows about Hosea, so he kind of has this, like, because his name is Michael Hosea, he's like, yeah, this is God, are you kidding me? Like, my name's Michael Hosea, and you're having me marry a prostitute like Hosea in the Bible. And so anyway, it's just this weird, it's a weird kind of setup for it, because that's one of my things too, is like, I know the book of Hosea because I've read the Bible, and I was like, how are you going to make this realistic? Because it's crazy that you'd marry a prostitute and like keep pursuing her that way. Like, this isn't a Pretty Woman situation. Like, Angel has no self-respect. She doesn't think she's worth anything. She's broken. She's so twisted around, she thinks she wants to do this, even though she's been abused and tormented and beat down over and over again. And Michael shows her a different way. He shows her godly love and true romance and loving someone without expecting anything from them. He shows her kindness and faithfulness and just what it is to open your heart to someone. And when you open your heart to someone, you have to be aware that they can hurt you, and that happens. And it's sad. Like, I cried so much reading this, because you see Angel and she doesn't think she's worth anything, and eventually when she does trust Michael, she then doesn't feel worthy of him. So instead of trying to keep him at arm's length because I don't trust men, I can't trust you, you won't treat me well, I can't be, what you want me to be, it's, I need to keep you at arm's length because I love you and I can't be the person that you want. So yeah, I really should make a review of this, but like I said, I've been nervous, and I don't know how much anyone cares about this like Christian read that I have. But I mean, if you are interested, please let me know, because I really do want to do a review, but I don't know how to go about it without A, crying the whole time, or B, sharing it without it being like preachy, because the book doesn't feel preachy to me. It was so beautiful. It was a beautiful romance that God was the center of it. So yeah, I don't want to push that on anyone, but this is my channel, so I guess I could if I wanted. But I just want to know if that's something you want to see. So that is all the books that I read this month. Only 11 this time, but I'm so proud of that. You know, when I started this, I was reading like 2 or 3 books a month, maybe more, because I was listening to books too. But I mean, now I'm getting through more than 10. Look at me stacking this up. Like, I ain't mad at that. These are all the books I read this month. Thanks so much for stopping by the Book Refuge. As always, happy to have you. Please like, comment, subscribe. Check out my book reads. I'm pretty active on there. I'm active on Instagram. I put up new posts every day. And yeah, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. See you next time.